Hey there, welcome, welcome, welcome in. I don't know why I wanted to say that 3 times. Anyway, welcome in, Tarot family. Fourth time for the win. We're going to be doing a reading today. This is a collective reading. Unfortunately, I do not have any identifiers for y'all this time. If you haven't been seeing any of maybe like my most recent videos, I did recently move, and so I don't have my lip bowl with me, but I will be giving identifiers just like as they come to me. And also I think you can intuitively kind of like tell and check to see if this reading is for you. But yeah, we're going to be using the Ask Your Guides Oracle cards by Sonia Choquette to get this reading done. And this reading is What You Don't See Coming. Okay, so if you're part of this collective, then I think that this is a very important message because I've been getting like an intuitive nagging to get this done. Let me go turn on my fairy lights. I've got some fairy lights like around. They're blinking now, but I just put them on the still setting, so that's nice. I've got like my little candle here in the corner. There is a song that is like a little bit stuck in my head. I heard it the other day. Shout out to Jaleesa's Messages, actually. She was singing this in a video that I recently watched. The song is There You Go by Pink. There you go, looking pitiful. Just because I let you go. There you go. Talking how you want me back, but sometimes it be's like that. There you go. Talking how you miss me so and you love me so. Why'd you let you go? There you go, because the lies got old. Now look at you. There you go. All right. So that may have something to do with this reading. I don't know. That might have just been an identifier for some people. Even like maybe if you just recently watched one of Jalissa's videos, I said her name or your name is Jalissa or you know somebody named Jalissa. Any of those things, right? Take what resonates, leave the rest, but any of those things or any of the things that I say in the next few minutes could be identifiers for you, okay? So please be patient with me. I am planning on like going back to get some more of my things. I just don't have them right now. So that's why the lip bowl is not in operation at this moment. 2:33, 2:34 on the clock just now. So yes, 2:34, moving forward, 2:33, this energy of like getting ready to put in the work. 2:34 is actually going through with it. So again, identifiers for some of you guys maybe. Alrighty, I love this like little sunset that they have on the back of the card. Very cute, very cool. Sunsets might be maybe like it's sunset time of day. Maybe you recently saw a really beautiful sunset. Who knows? I don't know. But we're gonna go ahead and get on with the reading. Let's see. What you don't see coming. Spirit guides, angels, benevolent ancestors, higher self, please tap me into the energy of this collective. Help me to divine this message for them in the most accurate and concise way possible. Help them to find this. My intention is that the right people find this at the right time, those who need to hear it. And we just are filled with gratitude and thank you for the warning or for the heads up, for the notice, whatever it is that we want to call it, however it may be. But yes, what we don't see coming, what the collective does not see coming. What message does this collective need to hear today? It's interesting I said we, because I don't usually like count myself in, but that is funny. And now I'm thinking of the song Dear Maria, Count Me In by All Time Low. So that might be something for you guys. Okay, risk. Ooh, risk. And also this says Joy Guides, number 43. But the first thing that I saw, like when I picked this card up, a few things came to mind. So not first thing, this is actually last thing, but the board game Risk could have some sort of significance, or maybe board games, table games in general. Obviously we might have like acrobats or circus or something like that when you look at this card here. But I was scared when I pulled this card out, and that's definitely not typical. But I did have this like moment of fear as soon as I saw the word risk. Being willing to take a risk, maybe having to take a risk, risking it all, that's coming through. You know, having to kind of like go all in on something, having to trust somebody else with your life, maybe literally. Okay, what's being drawn to me right now, I don't think I ever noticed this or saw this before, but in the back of this card, can you guys see that there's like audience members back there? right? There's like all these like little people. It's like they're watching this circus trapeze act or whatever, but there's all these little people here in the back. So you might be taking a major risk that exposes you to the world, exposes you to other people, kind of like puts your business out on Front Street. I'm hearing. Sorry about that glare, you guys. Let me see. I don't want to have to turn the light off, but I might have to. I guess I could just leave it there. I just like holding it. And I apologize. Like, I know that I'm talking a lot right now, like a little bit of extraneous information. You can always put the speed of the video faster. I won't be offended. But since we don't have identifiers, I kind of feel like sometimes my rambling has a purpose. So I'm not going to stop myself. Okay, so I just want to kind of let you guys know that. Taking a little risk there, because normally if I ramble too much or say things that don't strictly have to do with the reading, I'll like cut it out during the editing process. But I don't think I'm going to do that on this reading in particular. Sometimes also, like when I read on TikTok live, so if you're not following me on TikTok, you should be following me on TikTok. It's at Empress of Fortune over on TikTok. But when I'm doing a live reading, it's like it's a lot like this. I just have to say like what comes to mind because it's live, right? So this just so happens to be recorded, but it definitely has like the same kind of feel. So go follow me on TikTok if you're not already. It's a lot of fun over there. But anyways, and if you're not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and subscribe. Shameless plug. Anyways, I really feel like you have to trust somebody in a very, I want to say like difficult time in your life. And there's a distinction here coming up between tough and difficult. Okay, it's not a tough time necessarily. I guess that could resonate for some of you, but I think it's a few of you. It's not a lot, but a difficult time. And so the difference and the distinction between those two things is that you might find the things that you're doing to be easy, but it might just be that like fitting them all in is hard. Or it might be that you are struggling. I'm definitely getting like a struggle with time management here, but it also could be that you are watching other people go through difficulties and it may not be personally difficult for you. It might not be personally tough for you, right? But it's difficult for you to watch. Something like that. So there's like a distinction between something being tough versus something being easy, and then something being difficult, as in like maybe complicated. Okay, now I'm hearing complicated by Avril Lavigne. Pop punk is coming through a little bit. We already had Avril Lavigne. Now I'm thinking about Sum 41. But we already had Avril Lavigne and we had All Time Low. So yeah, pop punk is coming through a little bit. You could be a fan of it. Maybe you just like listened to pop punk or heard a pop punk song recently. Whether it was like in the car, at the store, on the radio, on your own headphones, whatever. Whether you like that type of music or not. But taking a risk, right? No risk, no reward. But I don't really know that it's about the reward. Sometimes we just do things just to do them. You might have to trust somebody who's not fully settled or fully stable themselves, okay? And I say that because I'm like looking at this picture again, and I can tell this trapeze person, their legs, they're not like hooked in. You know what I mean? It's not like their legs are like hooked into the ropes or anything. It's like they're laying on this bar. So you might have to trust somebody who's not fully stable or not fully hooked in or whatever, in whatever this is. I want to say that it has a lot of potential to go well. But there's more to this message, obviously. This is what you don't see coming, right? There's more to this message. So the audience, this could be potential for you to either fail or succeed in front of a lot of people. I do get the sense of you being scared. I get the sense of potential embarrassment. I get the sense of, I think you're very talented at whatever it is that you do, or you might have a talent that you're getting ready to share with the world in some kind of way. That, I think, is for a few people. It might not be for everybody, but some of you guys might just have like a presentation coming up, and a lot of important people are going to be there, or going to be watching, or going to hear about it, or something like that. I won't say that this is for performers and performers only. I don't think that that's the case. I also got the sense that there might be some like financial risk or financial mitigation involved. Might have to like mitigate a situation, meaning kind of like offset a situation financially in some way. This makes me think of, I'll give like a very specific example. So I'm a DJ, and if you book a venue for a party, that venue is typically used to making a certain amount of money on any given night, right? So like any given night that you're not there or some other person is there or whatever, the bar might be used to making, $6,000, $3,000, whatever. And let's say that you have an event there and not enough people show up to make that bar threshold of the $3,000 or $6,000, whatever it is. If the bar comes up short, you actually have to pay out of pocket to mitigate that risk for the club owner, for the bar, if enough of your people didn't show up or if enough of your people didn't buy drinks. That's kind of like a secret that a lot of people don't really know about event planning in the party industry, is like venues can kind of have you over a barrel if you aren't successful enough in the way that you planned and promoted the night, right? So there is a risk here, and it may not be a super high reward, but it could be a lot of like publicity, for example, or exposure, or a lot of people seeing you do your thing really, really well. And this could be a project that you're working on. It could be a presentation at work. It could be a presentation at school if you're a student. It could be, anything that you're trying to do. I think that you're afraid to fail in front of a lot of people. And I think you would have to trust somebody else. There's somebody else you have to trust. 13:13 on the clock right now. There's somebody else that you have to trust in order for it to actually succeed. And I don't know if you have like you're ready to fully trust this person. I don't know if you're ready to fully trust them, because I don't know if you see them as being fully hooked in or stable as you would like them to be in order for you to feel as though they were trustworthy. But I think you're just, wherever you are in life, you're taking a leap of faith. This could even be like moving somewhere, right? You're taking a leap of faith, and I think you're afraid to lose. And in order for you to win, I think there needs to be another person there to help catch you and assist you. That makes me think of like basketball. Like an alley-oop. I used to play a lot of NBA 2K with my younger brother when I was little. Somebody like to be there with the assist. Now there's a song on my mind. Sleepy Brown by, I want to say it's like Rihanna J. There's a producer who she works with, and his producer tag is like, somebody quick with the assist. Hold on. Sleepy Brown, whether that's the song or just like something else, that could be an identifier as well. There is also like another artist named Sleepy Brown, like another musical artist, so. I think he says young Mikos the God, quick with the assist, okay? The producer is Mikos the God, okay? So MIKOS space DA space GAWD. That's the producer of that song. He says, young Mikos the God, quick with the assist, okay? So I think that this person might be quicker to help you than you realize that they would be, or it might be that like they swoop in and they help you in a way that you might not have been expecting, a way you didn't see coming, right? These like little baby angels that they have with the stars, they are really very reassuring. They're very reassuring to me. And like I said, I really want to say like I think that this is going to go well, but I think you just have to be willing to trust this other person. I don't know who that is. You might know who it is. Interesting. Shadow here. It's interesting that we've got so many similar colors. Not only the purple, but also like the pink and the orange. But they're showing up in very different ways. I kind of think part of you is a little bit hierarchical, a little bit power hungry. Power hungry almost feels like the wrong word, but I will say it feels like there's the idea of like somebody wanting to, go and swing their dick around. Like, you know how they say that? It's a saying to mean like to show that I'm like the big boss, show that I'm, the most the most equipped in this situation, okay? And it's like sometimes people will say like pissing contests. That's coming through as well too. So I kind of feel like there's this situation where somebody either feels intimidated or is doing intimidating, but I think feels intimidated is coming through. And I think that's where that sense of fear came from when I first pulled the risk card. Like, whatever this is that you're trying to do, especially because I think that other people are watching you or will be watching you, you feel very intimidated by it. And your shadow self, I do think, is also coming through, trying to maybe even like bully you into this idea that you can't do it, you can't be that person that you want to be. And I honestly think you're just trying to like do something cool and fun, which is why I said that I don't know how big the reward actually is. I think it's just like it's something to do, something that you want to do. And I see this like this little guy right here, whoever this is, doesn't have to be male specifically. This little guy right here is like, I just want to give my love to whatever, right? I put my heart and soul into this. 2 more songs are coming through. I'm thinking about Give Your Love by DeBreak, D-A space B-R-E-A-K. That's one. Then I'm also thinking about Heart and Soul. Who does that one? It's like, heart and soul, da-da-da-da-da-da, heart and soul, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da. I think that's like an old classic song. Frank Loesser and Hoagie Carmichael. And there's like, it says a simplified version is a popular piano duet. So there was like a version by Jan and Dean, a version by the Cleftones, and other versions as well. But yeah, I feel like it's like you want to put your heart and soul into something, but I think your shadow self, or maybe even another person, is telling you that, you're not good enough to do this. So yeah, there's definitely like a feeling of being put in the spotlight. And you also might be afraid of like, if you were to be put in the spotlight, what would come out, right? You might have like some secrets that you don't really want other people knowing about, right? And I think that you're kind of afraid, like, what happens if I am successful and then people find out XYZ about me? This whatever shadow thing that I have in my closet, the skeletons in my closet that I don't want people knowing about, right? And I think that fear is more intimidating and a little bit bigger than the love that you have for whatever this is, this action or this passion or whatever it is. I think the fear is a little bit bigger. And I said earlier that there's a fear of failure, but I didn't want to acknowledge the fear of success, because I was like, why would they be afraid of success, right? If success happens and it goes well, everything's cool. But I think that's what the fear of success is. It's like, well, what happens after the success, right? Do people come out of the woodwork, or is there something that I forgot about, or is there something that I know about that maybe I did in the past and I shouldn't have done, or whatever, that now somehow people are going to find out about. And right now I'm under the radar, but later on, if I become successful at this, what if people find out about something and it they turn against me, right? Or they don't like me anymore, or I get in trouble, or whatever, right? Which is why I think the audience here in the risk card is so prominent. Because like I said, I've never really noticed it before, at least not that I can recall. And so I think you're really wondering and worried about other people's expectations of you and also about other people's perceptions of you, right? And I know, at least on TikTok, a lot of people have been saying, or maybe before TikTok, who knows, it doesn't really matter. People will say things like your fear of being perceived is what's holding you back, right? And I think that that's particularly true with this collective. I don't think it's at this moment the major or only thing that's holding you back, but it definitely is something significant that's holding you back. Because if you do become successful and then you have a lot more eyes on you, it's like you really never know what those eyes are going to find out or what they're going to say or whatever, right? People can be very cruel. People can also be really good investigators, right? So, also the idea of like shadow, something being done in the shadows, that's another song, In the Shadows by the Rasmus, okay? But something being done in the shadows, there is that saying of like, things done in the darkness will always come to light, and I think that you're kind of afraid of what people might find out about you. I don't have any particular solution for that. But let's keep going. Also, this is number 25 and says Divine Healers. I don't think that I ever touched on that quite yet. I think we need another card. Intuition. Inner Child. Number 42. Interesting. We have 43 right here, and now we've kind of, I won't say regressed, but we've gone back to number 42 with this shadow in between. I think intuitively you know what you need to do, but I think your shadow is what's keeping you from taking that risk that you know you need to take. You also may feel like you want to have power over someone, or you do have power over someone and you want to keep it, okay? Trigger warning. Some of you guys might be victims of sexual assault. That's obviously not going to be everybody, and I'm sorry. If you haven't dealt with that, and you know what, I'm also going to say another trigger warning. Some of you guys might be perpetrators of sexual assault, okay? You have to, that needs to be dealt with. And I think that that's a big part of your shadow, whether you are on the giving or receiving end or both, right? That is a part of your shadow that you need to deal with, especially since we have like divine healers. You have to heal this so that you can have that freedom that your inner child wants to be able to run, play, explore, and take the risk that you need to take in order to find that success. And I think that you are afraid to deal with this. You're too afraid to deal with it because, again, of what other people will think. Even if it's just one person. Even if it's just, you know, your therapist who maybe they're supposed to help you, right? I think that you're afraid of revealing or healing this part of yourself because it will change how other people see you, or it has the potential to change how other people see you. And if that's the case, then you know intuitively that you need to do it, but you're very afraid to take that risk because I don't think that you feel confident that this other person can hold you down. Now there's that song, Hold You Down, Chris Brown. I'll hold you down. I'm the one gonna hold you down. I'm the one gonna hold you down. I'm on my way. Sorry guys, my voice is not the best today. I'm a little bit sick. Alright, so that song is DJ Khaled, Chris Brown, August Alsina, Future, and Jeremiah, okay? And for some reason it's been removed because, oh, I guess like the music video was taken down from YouTube because there was some sort of lawsuit. They featured some sort of headphones really heavily in the music video, and I guess they didn't get permission or whatever. But I can't find it on Spotify either. That's so weird. That's very interesting. That whole album is not even on Spotify right now. It's called I Changed a Lot, and it's like literally not even on there. That is so weird. That is so weird. I do not understand that. That's so strange. All right, so that song is still available on YouTube, not like officially from DJ Khaled, but on some unofficial YouTube channels. You can go listen to it. I might link it here. But the fact that it was like removed from streaming platforms and that DJ Khaled had to like remove it because of issues, right? I think like part of you was a little bit afraid of like being canceled in some way, or being taken out of commission, taken out of the roll call, right? Just, you're afraid of things changing, I think, for the worse. And I think that's a valid fear. Personally, I do think it's a valid fear. However, with this intuition card here and this inner child here, part of me wants to say that maybe you have, nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about. Peter, Bjorn, and John also coming through. So many musical identifiers today, but I guess that's not a surprise. As I mentioned, I'm a DJ. Let's get another card and see what there is to say. Two more. Devotion and gifts. Ooh, that's the same picture that I mentioned that before. That's so cool. That's the same picture that's on the back of the cards. Devotion, nature spirits, and number 44. So double numbers here. And then we also have gifts, joy guides, number 6. All right, so I kind of feel like a commitment to change is going to be very important here. I think that's part of it. Ugh, these glares, they're so annoying. All right, we'll do it like this. A commitment to change is going to be very important. But I also think it's interesting, like I used the word passion earlier, and like the fact that you do this just to do it. I don't think that you necessarily expect any rewards. I think that that's actually really important, because it's like you're devoted to this. But I'm also getting like the concept of like devotional and also like repentance a little bit. I think you really turning to your spirituality is going to help you to move through this shadow and to heal this shadow aspect of yourself, so that you can figure out how to use your power more effectively and productively, how to trust people who are worthy of trust, and also how to freely give your love, right? Give your love, that song by DeBreak. They're like, give your love, hey, everybody give your love away, right? And I think giving love is not a bad thing to do. I think it's often scary, and we of course have to like give it to people who actually want it and who will reciprocate, and I think that's where the trust part comes in. But I think your devotion to this subject, to whatever this is that you like to do just to do it, is going to in some ways give you a lot of peace. I won't say save you, but I will say give you a lot of peace, which I think is beautiful. And it's interesting that it says like nature spirits here. Some of you guys might need to spend some time with the stars. Part of that song, Hold You Down, Chris Brown, he's like, sit in my whip and see the stars. Show me just who you are. And something to hold you down. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know the lyrics. But it's also making me think of, I don't know if any of you guys have seen Yellowstone, but after one of the characters is kidnapped, his guardian says, I think that he needs like some time with the stars. I think the stars can heal him. And so they like take him camping. And it does end up being pretty helpful, actually. So I'm not necessarily saying like you need to go camping, but I think you do need to spend some more time with nature, spend some more time outside. If you have the urge to just like be outside, go for a walk around. I almost said rock around. If That makes me think of rocking around the Christmas tree. Have a happy holiday, right? Oh, and that's interesting too because we have gifts here. So, Christmas gifts could be significant. Maybe you received something for Christmas, or whether it was now or a long time ago, that actually could be helpful to you. I don't know. Um, some of you guys may have like a really strong faith, whatever that religion might be that you subscribe to. It could end up helping you a lot by going through those devotionals or whatever, right? I'm not a particularly religious person. I'm a very spiritual person. I'm not subscribed to any organized religion, but I am very much getting like the sense of leaning very heavily on God. And it reminds me of that story that people sometimes like to tell where they're like, Jesus and I were walking on the beach and there were two sets of footprints, but then at a certain point there was only one set of footprints. Like, why did you leave me? Right? And they're like, Jesus responded, no, that's when I was carrying you. Right? So I think some of you guys might need to put more faith and trust into the divine, because if you are able to be devoted to whatever this practice is, it doesn't have to be a religious practice, but it's just, like I said, something that you do just to do it, something that you do because you like it or because it brings you some sort of joy, right? It brings you joy with the joy guides right here. If you have a greater and deeper sense of devotion to that, I think that you will end up reaping those rewards eventually. And I'm like really hesitant. I was really hesitant to use the word reward earlier, and I still am to an extent now, because I think a gift and a reward are two different things, right? A gift you don't have to work for. Somebody might just give it to you. A reward is like specifically in response to some sort of performance or action, right? Like, speaking of kidnapping, like sometimes people will offer a reward for information or for like the safe return of the person who was taken, right? So I don't think reward is the right word. I think gift is the right word, because I think that you will find that you get a lot of gifts as a result of sharing your gift with others, which is a beautiful thing. It actually makes me think of, and she's not the only YouTuber who gets this, but Shira7 goes on live a lot, and sometimes people will just like donate or give her gifts, right? When they give her gifts, she usually will, say who it's from, show it off a little bit, or maybe the gift is just like in form of money. They might just like send a little gift to her Cash App or whatever, right? And a lot of YouTubers get that same kind of treatment. And it happens, I think, because people are so grateful for what they've learned or the information that was shared or the entertainment that was given. And usually people who start a YouTube channel or whatever, like they do it just because they want to share or they like doing it, right? It's not necessarily with the intention of going viral or becoming famous or whatever, right? It's just like doing it because you love to. And I guess that's also like, you can tie the eyes into that too, because there's like a lot of people watching, there's a lot of people viewing. So you really never know. But I think that if you are willing to address that shadow side, you don't even have to address it publicly. I don't think that that's necessarily the case here. You're able to address that shadow side, then your intuition and your devotion to your craft and to yourself, but mostly to your craft, that's what I'm getting here, to your craft, can become even deeper. And that's a really beautiful thing. You will find so much peace, and I think that you'll be able to help a lot of people. And there will be like a cornucopia of abundance coming your way, things that you will receive in abundance. Okay, so as far as like what you don't see coming, I think what you don't see is that you can't see beyond the shadow. You can't see beyond the fear of success and also the fear of failure. You can't see beyond that fear. But if you are able to address the shadow side and to take this risk and to trust this person, then I think that you will have a deeper connection to yourself, a deeper connection to your intuition, a deeper connection to your joy guides, to the nature spirits, to your inner child, right? Joy guides came out twice here on the risk card and on the gifts card, right? So it's like it starts and ends. And now I'm thinking of that movie / book, It Ends With Us. I haven't read or watched it, but I do know it's about like domestic violence and stuff like that. But I also know that people don't like the author of the book, Colleen Hoover, because of some things her son did, allegedly, which I say allegedly to protect myself. I'm not saying that they didn't do them. I'm not saying he didn't do them. But I think it's kind of one of those things where it's like you find success and then people start investigating into your personal life, or they start investigating into your personal life of your family, and it can come and have blowback on you, right? Right now I'm also thinking about like Beyonce and Jay-Z, and at the time that I am filming this, February 2nd, 2025, some allegations, whether they are founded or not, have come out against Jay-Z as far as like any involvement that he had allegedly with the things that Diddy did allegedly, right? So even though Beyonce is not involved, people are getting on Beyonce. And I'm not here to defend anybody. I'm just a tarot reader on the internet. But I am saying that like sometimes the people that we associate with, things that they do, can sometimes come back and haunt us. Or things that we've done in the past can sometimes come back and haunt us, right? And so I think that there are power dynamics at play that you're afraid of messing with, that you're afraid of tampering with for a risk. Even if those power dynamics are internal, they don't have to be external. They can be something that like you might have a very kind of like, I don't want to say the word tenuous. In some ways, I guess that could be accurate. Tenuous meaning like fragile kind of sense of stability of who you are and how you interact with the world. And it might be very dependent on you hiding this shadow aspect of yourself and other people never knowing that about you, right? But I think you have to face it. And so what you don't see coming is that actually by facing it, you will end up in a better place. I think that you almost expect or assume the worst. And that's a song too, Assume the Worst by Drama. I think you almost expect or assume the worst, when in reality, that's actually not going to happen. And I think that's what you don't see coming. Sometimes you have to trust that people genuinely are there to help you, or people genuinely do want to, catch you, hold you, support you, hold you down, okay? And not just because it might be their job, but also because they care about you. All right? So, yes, this risk of like public shame, public failure that you have, that you think kind of lies on the other side of your public success, I think that it's better to address it now than it is to address it later. And I don't mean you have to address it publicly. I don't think that that's necessarily necessary for everybody. Maybe for some people it is. Some people watching this, it might be necessary to publicly address it, okay? But for others, I think you can address it privately within yourself, because, again, it might be that tenuous or fragile sense of self that you have where you feel stable, but it's predicated on ignoring or not addressing, right? Something that I didn't notice, actually, until just now is that we also have number 44 here. So 42, 43, 44, right? So the devotion I think that you may get from this, it's like a progression. And it's being blocked again by this shadow that you have to go back towards. And it could be that this is something that occurred in your 20s. If you're not in your 20s yet, then I would say like this could be something that occurred during a time when you were trying to like figure everything out, maybe possibly during your childhood, since we do have the number 6 here as well. But when you are able to overcome this shadow situation, I think the devotion that you'll have will also be a devotion to yourself. And you will overcome this shadow situation because you are so devoted to your growth and because you are so devoted to your peace. Okay? I don't think it's going to work unless you adopt that kind of attitude of being devoted to your peace, being devoted to your upbringing. And I don't think that we ever truly stop bringing ourselves up, meaning I don't think we ever truly stop growing or becoming, right? And I think you have to truly find a devotion to becoming the best version of yourself, or becoming who you're meant to be, and to sharing your gifts with the world. But your heart can only be so open. That's where we get this little heart guy, right? The heart and this shadow card. Your heart can only ever really be so open when it's being blocked by your shadow. There's only a certain amount of openness that you can have. So in order to crack that all the way open, bring it all the way fully to the present, to that space, you have to deal with this shadow situation. And look inside this box. I didn't notice this before either, but in the box it's like a bunch of hearts. There are a bunch of hearts in the box, right? So it's like this is going to be like an overflow of your heart space, an overflow of love, but like your heart is going to just open so greatly that you'll be able to really truly see the gift of who you are, the gift of what you're able to bring to the table, the gift of what you're able to give to yourself. And I think that's the greatest gift of all, right? I know that sounds corny, but it's true. These same little angels are here in the risk card, and they're here in the gift card. And it's like they want to help you open up the box that is you, and to release all of the beautiful things that you're capable of doing, creating, being, becoming, having, seeing, understanding, all of the things that are joyful in life, right? Because they're your joy guides. Saw 11 on the clock again. So this could also be something that happened like when you were 11 as well. Possibly at multiple different times in your life. I just got like a little stab of pain in my side when I said that. So I do think that this is something that, this situation, the shadow situation, is something that it's incredibly painful for you to maybe admit or to talk about, to discuss, whether you were the victim or perpetrator or both, whether it happened once or more than once, whether it comes out in a way that is very public or very private. There is pain here. And I think that's part of the reason why you're so afraid to open up about it. But opening up is actually going to be a big gift that you give to yourself. And I think that's what you don't see coming, is that it offers you an opportunity for expansion. It offers, why do I keep saying opera? Makes me think of opera. It offers you an opportunity to get to know yourself better. It offers you an opportunity to support yourself better. And I think that where you are in your life, I don't want to say you can't move forward until you deal with this, but this is a major point, I think, in your maturity and your growth as a human being, as a person. This is like that next stage of life. I think you have to deal with this in order for you to get to that next stage. And you have to trust somebody. There's somebody in your life that you need to trust with this knowledge, this information, this situation, whatever this is. And has that person proved to be trustworthy? I think that they have. But yeah, there are a lot of stars here in these cards. In the risk card, the devotion card, there are stars right here. Right? And also in the gifts card with the joy guides. So again, stars I think could be very healing for you. So you might want to get outside more, maybe get outside more at night, maybe take a little trip if you can't see the stars at night where you are because of maybe like light pollution or something. We were having issues with the glare, so I would not be surprised if that were the case. But yeah, some of you guys may also need to examine possibly a relationship in your life where maybe you did that, like you would often look at the stars with somebody. So you may need to examine a relationship in your life where that was the case. 602 was just on the clock for me. That could be an area code. It could be like a locker code or combination or something like that. Combination lock, I don't know. This is bigger than you, and I think that it offers you a big opportunity for expansion. And I think that what you're able to do and create and where you're able to go after this, after you address this shadow piece of yourself or of your shadow piece of a relationship, is going to be beneficial to so many people. Probably more people than you even know or could fathom, could even imagine, honestly. Because I think that you have a lot to give, but it's being blocked because your heart is blocked. Your heart is still being kind of like plagued by this, not necessarily even this shadow situation, but like it's this lack of devotion to your growth, this lack of devotion to yourself, this lack of devotion that you have towards the best peace and best possible life and lifestyle. Okay, so there are some areas in your life where I think that you also need more consistency. All right? More consistency. In some ways, trust is an exercise. And they often say the heart is a muscle, which it is, right? So some of you guys might literally need more physical exercise, and that might be a way that you could kind of like show devotion to yourself. And remember, we talked earlier about like spiritual practice and having faith in something. That something that you have faith in could be yourself, right? It doesn't have to be having faith in a higher power. It could just be having faith in yourself in a way that you do a devotional to yourself every day. Some people who are religious do a devotional like with their religious text every day. They might like take, 10, 20, 30 minutes or whatever and do a religious devotional. You could have a devotional to yourself where you take 10, 20, or 30 minutes to do something purely for you, purely for the betterment of yourself. Whether it is yoga or reading or exercise or practicing your craft or whatever it is, like something that gets you towards that stage of opening your heart up, gets you into your heart space. Okay? 3:33 is on my phone clock right now. And I just got a text from my mom. Some of you guys, it might be like journaling. For some of you guys, it might be that part of that devotional is spending time with people that you love or people who make you feel loved, right? But some sort of devotional to yourself that just makes you know that you are devoted to yourself. I'm feeling tasked to bring up 75 hard right now, which I know is like trendy and also difficult for a lot of people to do. I think that goes back to the distinction I was making earlier about what's tough and what's difficult, right? So I did 75 hard last year and I found it to be very helpful because it really does kind of like force you to be very devoted to yourself. There are 6 rules, 6 things that you have to do every day, 6 things that you're supposed to follow every day. So it's like being devoted to these 6 things every day. And I think that the busier your life is, the more difficult it is. But the tasks themselves are not actually tough. Maybe the water one is. So there's the 6 things are you're supposed to like read for 10 minutes a day. You have to follow a specific diet, which includes no drinking alcohol. And the diet is one that you can choose, but you cannot drink alcohol. You have to do a workout twice a day for 45 minutes each. One of them could be like going for a walk. The other one could be yoga. It doesn't have to be like you go to the gym and do 2 45-minute workouts, although one does have to be outside, right? So that could be a 45-minute walk, right? Or roll or whatever, right? I think that, and then you have to drink a certain amount of water every day. I want to say that they say it's either like a gallon or a liter. That one I will say was tough for me to do. And then, let me see, what are the other ones? You have to take a progress picture every day. I guess it is only 5. I'm wondering what the 6th one was that I was doing. What was the 6th one? You know what? I can tell you. I have my notebook. Okay, so I just like added a personal additional goal. That was my 6th goal. I'm not going to share that with you guys, but yeah, so there's like 5 things that you're supposed to do every day. And the things are not difficult. They're not difficult, but they can, or they're not tough, but they can be difficult. I think, and I mentioned earlier, time management can be like a significant factor, especially if you have like a kid or multiple kids, or, you know, you just have a lot of things to do. So like, it's not hard. It's not difficult to take a progress picture. It's not hard to go for a walk unless you are physically unable to walk, right? In which case, I think spending 45 minutes outside doing whatever kind of activity you can, let's say that you're in a wheelchair, so like going around the neighborhood in your wheelchair for 45 minutes can still count as a workout. You're working your arms, right? Or you're communing with nature. I think your definition of certain things also can dictate how tough or how difficult something is for you. But there are certain things that I think people make harder or make tougher than they need to make. That's my personal opinion. But I understand that my life and other people's lives are not the same. So, all of that to say that for me in particular, 75 Hard was a way for me to show devotion to myself. And after completing all 75 days, it was really a transformative experience. And I'm thinking about doing it again. So whether 75 Hard is for you or not, it's just an example of something or a particular way that people might show devotion to themselves. So you could even just pick one thing, one aspect, reading for 10 minutes, right? A day. And that is devotion to yourself and to your growth, right? So whatever it is that you choose to do, I think that you do need to work on being more devoted to yourself. And part of that, again, is confronting and choosing to explore that shadow side. Maybe even choosing to quash it, share it, whatever, once and for all. Or even just get that process started so that you can open up your heart in a way that allows you to find that joy, to be loved, and to love others. To let your inner child feel free and happy. I want to talk right now about like emotional ages. That's been kind of coming up a lot recently in conversations that I've had with people in my personal life. Not about me, but about other people. You know, sometimes people will say like, I feel like I'm still 20, but I'm 43, right? Or I feel like I'm still 16 and I'm 43, 35, 52, whatever, right? A lot of the time people will say that they feel younger than they are. And I find that concept so interesting because that begs the question or brings up the question of like, is that because you're emotionally stunted, or is it because you're saying like health-wise, like you don't feel like your body has changed in terms of like physical abilities, what you're able to do, right? Or is it something else? But I think a lot of people are emotionally stunted at a certain time and space in their life because they choose not to grow. They choose not to have this like level of devotion to themselves that they need in order to grow beyond that. Because at a certain point in life, I think it becomes about intentional decision making, right? And there are a lot of things that happen to us that maybe we didn't decide to happen to us. But there are a lot of things also that we do have personal power and control over. And I think that our emotional growth is one of those things, right? You can choose to grow or you can choose to stay behind. And I was choosing between the words stagnant and behind felt accurate because just because you choose to stay one emotional age doesn't mean necessarily that you're down in the muck, in the dirt, in the crust. It could mean that you're still having a great time. You just are choosing not to grow beyond that, right? So I don't want to say stagnant or stagnating. I want to say just like behind, because your physical age is far ahead of your emotional age, right? So you don't want to get stuck in an emotional place because you chose not to deal with your shadow, or you chose not to have that level of devotion to yourself that you needed in order to have that peace that's required for you to catch up emotionally to where you are physically, right? And how the world sees you. Which I guess could also go back to the whole thing about like the fear of being perceived. And I think some people fear being perceived because they don't feel emotionally safe to be perceived. There are some people who fear being perceived for like genuinely good reasons, like they're in the witness protection program and they don't want to be perceived because it blows their cover, right? But that's like a far-fetched scenario. I think a lot of people don't want to be perceived because they're afraid of being found out as being a fraud or less mature than they should be, or then other people kind of see them as at first glance based on how they look and their age and stuff like that, right? But it's like once I let you see me and once you get to know me, you kind of realize, I'm not talking about me specifically, obviously, but I'm talking about just like being in that person's shoes, right? Once you see me, once you get to know me, you realize I'm actually not as grown up or whatever as you think that I am, or I don't have it all together the way that you think that I do, right? And it's scary to have somebody else realize that about you. Sometimes people just want to look like they have their shit together when in reality they don't. And it's not good for business, or it's not good for them in some kind of way for people to kind of realize that they're not who they portray themselves to be, or that they're not as mature as they probably should be at their big, big age. Yeah. And I'm not laughing because it's like a laughing matter. I'm laughing at the phrase like big, big age, but there are a lot of emotionally stunted people out there. And I'm not ragging on any of them. I'm just saying like at a certain point, many points, actually like every day, every day you can make that choice to improve and to get better, or to stay stuck in the shadow. So I think I choose moving forward, getting better, leaving that shadow behind me where it belongs, right? Not taking over my heart or taking over my soul even, forcing me into this place of like false empowerment where I feel like, and again, not I, specifically me, not me, I, but just speaking as somebody, I'm channeling, right? I'm channeling. So, where I feel like I have to have power over somebody in order for me to feel good about myself, or for me to feel like I can release this negativity, or where I feel like I have to constantly prove that I'm better than somebody else in order for me to feel okay about who I am, because I know that I'm not devoted to myself, or I know that I'm not where I should be emotionally, right? So if that resonated with you, then this was definitely for you, and I wish you so much love, so much peace, so much security, so much happiness, so much joy, and I wish for you that you have no fear. What is that? Is that from Peter Pan? Where they're like, no fear. I don't know where that's from, but I'm inclined to say that it's from Peter Pan. And that also makes me think of like Peter Pan syndrome, where somebody just kind of like refuses to grow up, right? Like, I won't grow up. So if you're struggling with that Peter Pan syndrome, this is a message for you that it's time for you to address your shadows. Also, there was a whole situation where he was like chasing his shadow. Oh my gosh, maybe we need to watch Peter Pan. Because isn't that how he ended up like finding Wendy or whatever, right? Because he was trying to chase his shadow and he ended up like chasing it into her room or something like that. And you know, that's so funny. Like earlier I saw a picture of a dog and I was like, that dog should be named Wendy. And I was like, Wendy, that's weird. But now here I am talking about Wendy again. So the name Wendy could be significant to you somehow. But yeah, I think some of you guys may need to discuss or confront situations that embarrassed you. May need to discuss or confront situations that hurt you, cause you a lot of pain. It might be all three of those things. It might not be one single situation. It might be a few things that you kind of need to get into, whether it's journaling or therapy or just like allowing yourself to sit with it, think about it, work through it, whatever that may be. I don't think that you can avoid this anymore. I encourage you and suggest and invite you to chase your shadow. And to not, in that way, be like Peter Pan, chase your shadow. But don't be like Peter Pan in the case of I won't grow up, right? Because at some point, we all have to grow up eventually. Don't forget to follow me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video. And if you feel comfortable letting us know what it is that you're avoiding or what shadow you're chasing in the comments, I'm happy to be a listening ear. And I know that this community is a really beautiful one, so feel free to share if you want to. If you feel called to. And if you don't want to, that's totally fine. Love you. Bye.